Hello, my name is Merlin, and I just wanted to share some of the things I've been going through recently. Um, it's really interesting changes. Yeah, this is the first video that I recorded in a while, and I usually write in a blog or journal, something like that. For whatever reason, though, today I felt like recording a video and see if I could reach people this way. Yeah. So yeah, I guess the interesting things that I've been going through have been kind of pretty dramatic. I guess you could say like paradigm changes in like my consciousness and in my identity. Um, that's about the best way I can communicate it, I think, because what I've been experiencing has really kind of gone outside anything I could call anything by any name. Um, yeah, and I can say it's a paradigm shift or consciousness shift, but it's something that is kind of beyond anything that can be defined, anything that is um, that has a defined and particular form. And I would also say it's kind of beyond any kind of knowing. I mean, I guess that's one way of saying it. But anyway, this paradigm shift has been really interesting because it's really changed a lot of my attitudes, and it's kind of been like a fundamental shift in my attitude and how I orient myself in life, um, as it seems like the fundamental way that I look at things and I understand things has changed. Um, and it's so profound that I feel like understanding it is really important to human beings because so much of what we do, I believe, is based on perspectives that we have that don't hold water when they are closely examined. And when we deeply search within ourselves and we deeply look at who we are and what makes up who we are, and we get down to the bottom of who we are, we realize that these core perspectives that we have aren't core, and that our core is actually something that's different. And I think what this is what I've recently come across, which is something that I would say is totally beyond individuality and is totally beyond anything that is defined and anything that can be communicated. It's kind of just beyond everything. Um, and to me, this beyond everything is what everything is all the time. And we just see things as defined shapes and defined forms, limited forms. But this thing that I'm seeing is just totally beyond all particular orientations. And it seems to be the fundamental reality of everything. Um, and so it's just kind of been blowing my mind because um, so much of what I was doing was oriented towards achieving and striving for myself, and And I wouldn't even say, for things that are really good and that are really genuine, like a genuine spiritual awakening, working towards that personally and feeling compelled authentically to awaken, um, and seeking personal fulfillment and things like that in a genuine way, and in my life, in my individual life. And I just didn't realize how deep things went, and I didn't realize that there was this place that was totally beyond who I am as an individual, and as I would even say as a human being, I think. And I haven't fully fleshed it out. I don't know how it fully relates to individuality and my humanity. Um, but just seeing it now is just incredible, and what it's revealing to me about the nature of reality is it's pretty amazing. Um, and I think understanding it and really seeing it kind of just totally takes, um, it really, um, just it really is good at ending striving, I guess you could say. Um, like in Buddhism, um, there's thirst. We have thirst for, that's why we suffer. And you could striving or clinging or attachment, and I don't think until you see fundamentally that nothing is worth striving for, and that who we are is nothing we can attain, or anything that we can attain through striving. And you see that no form is better than any other form, that all forms are insubstantial, um, and there's no real difference between anything. Um, and you realize that striving is just as an attitude is kind of unreasonable and unfounded. Um, and you really don't really see this, I think, until you get to a point where you can really move beyond. Um, you can see that all of our individuality is insubstantial and isn't the core of who we are, and that the continuation of this individuality isn't necessary, um, and everything that we think we are, to me, in a very very real way, is not what is real, and because it's so insubstantial, you can really just see how striving for it makes absolutely no sense, and you really can see clearly that it doesn't actually bring about what it says it does, and it actually creates trouble, and it creates problems, and it creates illness, because striving is equal to resistance in living systems, in the broadest sense of living system. Striving is creates resistance. I mean, you could also argue that it creates life, and the living systems are striving, but um, striving creates problems, and when you think that it creates more power for you, and when really it's actually creating resistance in the system, and it's really limiting, um, the functioning of the system. And so when you can really see that, not only is it not get you what you want, but that it also creates all the problems you have in your life, then you really don't you really lose desire to perpetuate striving. Um, and I just think I thought I understood what that meant, but I don't think I really did. I didn't realize how deep it went. I didn't realize how deep reality was, and yeah, and so I've been going through this recently, and um, it's been pretty incredible. And I've because of what I realized about thirst and attachment and striving, um, about that reality, the reality of the insubstantiality of all particular things. Um, uh, I really kind of deeply letting go of striving, um, in a way that where that mask is really coming off of my face more, and I'm just seeing what's behind it, which is indescribable, which is what I would just call reality. Um, and and in a place where before I've had a lot of striving really close to that reality, but it was so infused with it that I still couldn't really see reality clearly, and I had to have the clutch of or the crutch of striving because I was insecure as an individual. I was too insecure, and I didn't have enough understanding to really let it go. So I maintained that crutch of it, and now I've awakened enough that that crutch is not as necessary, and I've awakened to the fundamental reality of everything, and to a portion enough to a great enough extent that I have faith in it more as an individual, and it's also just grown so much, and I've my being has dissolved into this reality so much that that it has this much larger place in my life, and and it's kind of like, I don't know, you slowly build up something, and you have this idea of in the future some point you'll be able to use this thing you've been investing in, but it's going to take a really long time, and you won't really, you know that it's a good thing to invest in, but you don't really know what it's going to be like. You have these kind of feelings of, oh yeah, it's going to be really good and it's going to do all these things when I get there, but I really don't know what it's like because I've never been there before. And then when you get there, you have this different way of living because you have this new kind of power in your life. It has more potential, and it makes your life easier in all these new ways, and you don't have to rely on this old system, this outdated system. But the whole time in the beginning, you're just planning for the future, and and you're still this person who needs this old system, which is the regular system. Um, but then when you get there, you don't really, well, you don't really know what it's going to be like until you experience it, and it's kind of like this almost unreal dream because it's so far away, and it's so like kind of idealistic or like unimaginable because it's so, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like good or whatever. But then when it actually happens, you have to make this transition into this new mode that you've been preparing for, and you get there and you're like, whoa, I'm finally there. And you have to let go of the old mode, and that's kind of where I am. It's like I'm more than 50%. So yeah, that crutch is not as strong. My tie to the world isn't as strong, and I'm more of this trans-dimensional, like transformal, just just abiding abidingness that is no ties to anything. It's just here, you know, and and I'm almost that more than who I am now, and it's just weird. It's just weird. Um, and it's weird to have the world become, the shell, um, and to feel like I am this abiding. You could, I don't know, I guess you'd call it internal. It's not really internal, but you could call it this abiding internal, presence. But it's more like the world is this film that's floating around, and there's actually, you know, what is abiding that's just here. And it's weird to have that shift out of space and time into the abidingness. Um, and when you do that, and when you're really there, it's like, wow, um, the world is not what I thought it was. The world is not what we think it is, to a great extent. And you really get a feeling that everything here is insubstantial, and everything here is not going to last. And a lot of our experiences are like these relative temporary experiences, and you just get this sense of this vastness, that's this vastness beyond, our ordinary perceptions, and just the real reality of the essence of spirituality that we are trying to understand. um, and it's kind of, it's how it is true, and more true than a lot of our, you know regular perspectives that we really cling to, because we're, afraid of losing who we are, and we're afraid of dying in darkness or whatever. We're afraid of opening up, to something greater. And um, part of us doesn't believe that something greater is real. But then when you actually awake enough, you really see that it is, how things are. And um, it's just pretty incredible. Um, yeah, and and what's been really fascinating about this all is that at the same time as all this is happening, I'm continuing to awaken and deepen as an individual, and grow as a human being. And I had another, paradigm shift as an individual too, um, in my kind of, uh, my mode or my identity. Um, I I had let go of, my conditioned, um, way of living about 9 years ago, or 10 years ago. I'm not sure, so that I could discover an authentic way of being, because I knew that the conditioned way I was doing things was inauthentic, and um, that it was holding me back from being myself and probably a lot of other things. And that, um, I wanted to really, discover who I was, I would need to let go of those conditioned perspectives, um, and find an authentic way of being. And so I let go of that, and I kind of fell into this, um, this not sure exactly what to call it, but this space, this maybe unconscious space that was there, where all these things were, that, uh, all this buildup that hadn't been able to grow, because, it was repressed by this conditioned, um, consciousness, this conditioned way of being. And so I fell down in this pool, which is really, um, all the things about me that were unformed or not fully formed, because they hadn't had a chance to. And it was the most conscious I could be with the total sum data of my being, which wasn't a whole lot at the time, but it felt like a fall into that. um, because I had to build a new mode of being out of consciousness rather than out of, um, uh, I guess you could say, anxiety and fear or whatever. And this is just the best way I can describe it right now. And so it felt like a falling into a darkness, which was the most conscious I could be in an authentic way, given all the data I had. And so out of that darkness and this data, I built a self um, out of essentially pure consciousness. I you should call it that or whatever, but out of authenticity, I let authenticity direct, um, the establishment of a new identity. Um, and eventually, it seems kind of like it started with basic bodily impulses and basic body awareness, and out of that body awareness, it grew into kind of levels of identity, of personal identity. Um, and it formed into will, and it formed into desire, and then it formed into ego, and like an authentic ego, and then it formed, and after that, um, it shifted again, and it formed into authentic, conformist, authentic. And these are, I'm using terms from um, integral theory, Ken Wilber's integral theory, and I think they work really well with what I've been going through, describing these kind of fundamental levels, and it describes it so perfectly that I'm just, my mind automatically uses it because it's such a good tool. And so kind of went from my bodily properties and my bodily energies and my bodily whatever, and then I went to ego, and then it shifted from ego to conformist. And I thought I was going to be ego a lot longer, but then I really realized that, um, I don't know. I think that was probably part of the whole striving thing and desire. The ego is striving for all these things, and I just realized that that wasn't, I don't know, what I really wanted. And then there's a little more to it than that. But I my mode of desiring for my ego, for myself, for me, um, what I want shifted to, and this was all authentic, and it felt really good. It felt like the core of who I was, and it felt like it was guided by this deeper, like golden wisdom, and that evolved into, I want to participate in this world. I want to participate in society. I want to join in all of these these conventional roles that people are doing. I want to participate in this. This is a way I will expand my being. This is what feels good to me. Like, I'm ready for this. I don't just want for me now, or myself. I still want for myself, but what I want is to join with everyone else and join with this world and the established way things are. I want to learn these roles. I want to learn these rules. I want to. I want to. This is a better way for me to survive, is to participate in the system in a healthy way, in a fully conscious way. Um, and through learning these roles, I can enhance my life in so many ways, um, and it just makes way more sense. And this is what I need to do to move forward into deeper levels of fulfillment. And there's a lot of those, and so this level is about learning the way things are exchanged in society, the established way, learning the language of society, the language of human society, um, and its culture and its communication, um, and it's everything we do, all the interactions we have, and all the culturally, all the habits we have that are cultural. Um, it's learning how to participate in that so that you can navigate the system to access resources. And it's more than just accessing resources. It's it's really enjoying participating in this established system. um, and it's belonging to it and feeling a sense of identity with the system, with the people, and with all the things in it, and feeling enriched by it, and feeling propelled by it, um, and lifted up by it, and secured by it, and be really being it in a sense, and you're conforming to it, um, and it's an expansion of your being at this point. It's not a contraction; it's an expansion of the ego, and and I've waited a really long time, I think, to get to this point um, of authentically joining, because what I sensed before, and I don't know how much I was projecting what I was feeling on others, but I think I sensed a lot that people conform when it's inauthentic to who they are, um, and they conform out of a drive to survive rather than an authentic desire to participate in the system. And and because of this, they don't participate in healthy ways, and they also will participate in things that aren't good, um, for the whole of society, because they're just trying to survive, and the only way they feel like they can survive is if they participate with the option they have available, which isn't necessarily something that is in line with you know the common good for everyone. Um, and so I've been really careful and hesitant about participating, and I really delayed it. Really bringing myself to the table and joining, the world essentially. And and there's a lot of other reasons too. I was also just insecure, and um, I was be immature in a lot of other ways, um, and held back because of mental illness, and held back because of this huge spiritual awakening, which was taking up all my time and my like power and everything. Um, and so I really have taken a lot of time to build an authentic base, so that I could really fully commit myself to this world and to participating with others, because I felt like it was really important to do that. And and I and it became something that wasn't as important as it used to be to me to authentically participate, as I just kind of awakened more spiritually. Um, and I kind of even forgot about how important, or how much I liked it, or I wanted to do it, and it just kind of came out of the blue, and I didn't know that it was going to come after ego. I wasn't really thinking that. I wasn't seeing that it's at this next step. You know, I wasn't seeing the full reality of what it was, and then it kind of came, and I was like, oh. And it kind of came after I went through a lot of personal struggles and just popped out, and I was just like, okay, I'm here now. So this is what I need to do. This is where I'm at. And so it's kind of unexpected in a lot of ways, and yeah, and uh, but I've just been going hard at it for, I don't know, maybe a month or two, and I've kind of, over the last couple months, I've really realized, like, oh, I'm like, oh, let's say, I'm like, oh, I'm here, and this is where I am. Um, I didn't realize this is where I am. Oh, I'm at this like new level now. Okay, like now I know what to do with myself, because I was kind of in this limbo between ego and and not knowing, because I kind of got thrown off my center about a year and a few months ago, and I was trying to get back to it, and then I knew it was going to be different because so much time had passed, um, and then when things finally cleared, I was like, oh, I'm not there anymore. I don't want to strive, and my core has changed, my fundamental identity has changed, and I don't feel comfortable being so egoic anymore. I don't want to be egoic, at least in the same way. I want to participate and join, and I don't feel good about just being selfish. I want to participate with other people, and I want to participate in healthy ways, um, other people and with this world and the way things are, and that's what I really want to do. And it's just weird, and that just came out of, kind of felt like nowhere, and I was like, okay, this is my new settling point. This is my new center of gravity, and um, yeah, and I've just been committing everything I can to it, as much as I can in a positive way, and yeah, and it's super interesting, and it's kind of like um, seeing this development of this new level out of ego. It really has shown me the de- the developmental levels of consciousness that we move through, and I have a much better sense now that I've kind of gone up maybe through several of them um, in a very clear way. Okay, this is, I'm going through this chain, and okay, I know what's next now, and I have a a good understanding of um, of a lot of the these different levels, and so now I'm like, okay, I'm really going through this. I kind of felt like I was before, and now it's like, yeah, I'm really going through this. This is really the terrain I'm in, and I can see the bigger picture, and so that's been cool. Yeah, and I just have a much better picture of the whole the whole system that I'm working in, now that I've kind of seen beyond individuality and beyond striving, and I can kind of see a much bigger picture, and it's nice to see that, and I can kind of see, and after conformist is orange rational, so it's like red ego, blue conformist, orange rational, um, and so I'm really churning a lot of gears in the blue. But when you're in the blue, it moves you closer to the orange automatically, and so that reason is pouring in from the top, and you have the desire in the bottom, I guess you could say. But that reason is, as you're moving up, as you're moving up into the blue, you're getting closer to the orange, and the oranges, you're moving up, and the oranges, as you're processing the blue, it's opening up this dimension to the orange, and it's falling through, and so. Um, I'm just getting a little bit more familiar with that too, and thinking about it, and that's really exciting because orange is self-interest, it is science, it is there's reason, um, it's like command, and it's self-interest that is manipulating, and not in any way, that's not in bad ways, necessary bad ways, but manipulating blue, which contains red, which is blue. It's manipulating blue, like society conformist, ways, established roles, manipulating that to acquire resources for the sake of self-interest. Um, and so that's a really like, for me, that's something that I've been even putting off even more. um, and that's, I think, would be a big step for me because I need so much for myself that I haven't been able to give to myself, that I could give to myself in different circumstances, but I haven't been able to because I need to build the right way before I can do that. And so I'm excited to move into that terrain because I think I'll gain a lot of power that will really um, ease my life, which I'm really looking forward to. But at this point in time, I need to build the blue level so that I can understand the system that I'm working in, um, and the language of the system, and through understanding that, I can communicate as an individual in the system to acquire the resources I need for myself to grow in the best way possible. And that's what I'm doing. And so I feel like this is all really important stuff, and I feel like I have a lot of good perspectives. And I would love to hear from you guys. I'd love to have people that are actually listening to this. Um, and I want to share this, and I want this to mean something to other people, and I want to, yeah. So, anyway, um, I hope you guys are all fantastic, and and yeah, take it easy. Peace.